Hi everyone, tonight's date night. My fiance is taking me out to our favorite restaurant, so I'm bringing you along to get ready with me. We're using all drugstore products today, including skincare. I was pleasantly surprised by quite a few of the products. There are also a few things that I know some of you will recognize because I use them all the time. But I will say this, drugstore makeup has come a long way, y'all, especially since I was a teenager and I first started wearing makeup. Wow. By the way, I'm Jeannie. I'm a pro makeup artist. I work with celebrities, beauty brands, and everyone in between. Welcome to my channel. I'm going to start with a mask since I have the time. I found this brand at Rite Aid. It's called Dollface. I've never heard of it before, but they had a smaller size of their incredible glow mask. So we're going to put that on and let it sit and then wipe it off and go into skincare. Just have a little bit on my hands here. I'm just going to apply it on the face. Just a really thin layer. It's been about 10 minutes and the mask is pretty absorbed. I'm just gonna take this cloth right here and remove any excess. I saw this on the shelf and I knew I had to purchase it because I haven't used it in a very long time, but it's very nostalgic for me. It's the Olay hydrating fluid. This is one of the first moisturizers I ever purchased when I was a teenager and starting to think about taking care of my skin and washing my face at the end of the day and wearing makeup. I wore this throughout high school and I think even through college or through most of college. I love it. There's a reason why it's still around to this day. My mother is a huge fan of Olay. Every time I give her something to try, she always goes back to her Olay because she loves it. So I'm making you proud, Mom. And it still has that Olay scent that brings back so many memories for me. Oh my goodness. Just a little on my hands and it still feels the same. That's a testament to them that they've kept the formula pretty much the same. At least it feels like it's pretty much the same. We're starting with the NYX brow glue to set the brows. Just gonna take the brush backwards to incorporate it into the hair and then just start shaping the brow. Just gonna take my finger and place the brow. If you see anything that needs fixing, you can always go back in with the brush. Before it dries, just place the hairs where you want them. It's quick drying, which I love because it's less time wasted. I love anything that makes me more efficient, let's be honest. And you always have one brow that's like the redheaded stepchild that's a little more stubborn than the other one. That's this one for me. Step 2 is the Lift and Snatch pen, also from NYX in the shade Ash Brown. Just gonna draw in any areas that need a little bit more shape. I over-tweezed when I was a teenager, so my brows are a little sparse in certain areas. They definitely need a little bit of help, especially since I love a big fat brow. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I love a bulletproof brow, so the next step is setting spray. This is from e.l.f. We're gonna use this at the end as well. When I was thinking about the skin for this look, I knew that I wanted to go a little bit more natural, which I love, but I know my fiance also loves too. Thinking along those lines, I'm going to use concealer only, and I'm just going to conceal in places that I need it, and I'm gonna keep the rest of the skin nice and fresh. I don't really love drugstore concealers. Of the ones that I've tried, I found them to be a bit lacking, but I bought this one and I used it a few days ago, and the finish and the coverage are spot on. It's the Revlon Colorstay Skin Awaken 5-in-1 concealer in shade 30. It erases, perfects, brightens, hydrates, and refreshes. Ooh. When thinking about using only concealer as your base, you want to use it sparingly and you want to just conceal in the areas where you really need it. For me, it's under the eyes, the nose, don't forget around the nose, and the chin. I'm gonna do a little on the forehead right here, and we're gonna start there. One way to ensure that you're not using too much product, or if you have used a little bit too much product and you need to be able to pick it up, is to use a sponge. This is from EcoTools, also from the drugstore. I'm just gonna start blending that concealer, and what it will do is push it into the skin. It will also help to pick up any excess that might be on your face. You've seen me use this technique before, but never with a wet sponge. It's just a different way to do it. Now that I've blended out the first layer of concealer, I can see that I want to add a little bit more right around here just to give me a little bit more coverage. As always, it's best to work in light layers. It takes a little bit more time, but the finish is worth it. I zoomed in a little bit because I wanted you to see how the concealer just corrected my skin, but you can still see the little moles on my face, some of the imperfections. It's very, very natural, but like I said, it just sort of color corrected and evened out my skin tone, which is what I want. I actually still have a little bit of darkness on the inner corners right here, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more and take my finger, bring it onto the eyelid, and then a little under the eye. Also, I wanted to mention that this shade of concealer is very close to the actual shade of my face. It's not lighter. That's another way to make sure that it's going to look very natural, is that it's going to match your skin tone. I got very lucky in guessing that 30 would be close to my skin tone because, as we all know, it's very hard to match when you're in a drugstore because you can't swatch anything. You can keep the skin as it is and put on a little lip gloss and mascara and you're good to go. Because I am who I am, I want to add a little bit of light sculpting and warmth to the face. Just a little. I have this e.l.f. cream contour palette, and honestly, these two colors could be used as contour, but they mostly look like cream bronzers, and that's kind of the idea that I'm going to use them for. I'm going to use the one thing that's not drugstore in this tutorial. It's my e.l.f. Cosmetics foundation brush, and because we want to keep this look pretty natural, I'm going to go on the lighter contour shade, which, like I said, actually looks more like a cream bronzer. I'm going to load up the brush, tap the excess on the back of my hand, and then we're just going to sculpt lightly. Thinking about where the sun hits you naturally. So that's the cheeks, top of the nose, forehead, and I always like to take the rest on the brush on the jawline. I'm gonna take my sponge and just make sure that everything is blended and nice and natural. And now for my eye contouring trick, I'm gonna take a little bit more on the brush, tap it off, and then pinch it. And then I'm just gonna take the brush like that to create that contour. And then taking your sponge, it's like your magic eraser, just to blend out any hard lines. While we let the skin settle, we're gonna move on to eyes. I also wanted to mention that the reason I didn't use any SPF on my skin is because by the time I'm going to be outside, the sun will have already set, so I don't have to worry about it. For eyes, we're gonna curl the lashes. This is the Revlon Lash Curler. I've never used it. Definitely harder for those of us with deep set eyes, or really have to like get in there and squeeze. I'm keeping the eyes super simple. I want to do a little bit of definition on them using the Milani Kohl. I'm just going to tightline the upper lash line. And for mascara, we're going in with my favorite drugstore mascara. This is the Maybelline Sky High in Blackest Black. This is one of the blackest drugstore mascaras you can get. I also love Maybelline mascaras. I just think they're some of the best drugstore mascaras on the market. Now that eyes are done, we're gonna go back to skin before we do lips because I wanna add a little bit of blush. This is the e.l.f. Putty Blush in Blush Pate. As you can see, it's a very bright pink, but we're going to use it very sparingly so it looks more like a natural flush. Scrape some on the back of my hand just to use as a palette. One of my favorite ways to apply cream blush is actually with a sponge or a beauty blender. So I'm just gonna take it on this sponge and tap it. And it just adds a hint of a flush. I don't want the look to be too powdery, but I do want to set my under eyes. So I have the CoverGirl Clean Invisible powder. I love this because it's vegan and talc free. I think it's great that CoverGirl has a clean line like this, and I'm excited to try it. A little bit of powder. I'm going to tap it on the back of my hand. Set the under eye, around the nose, up through the forehead. I like to set my T-zone with powder, especially because I know I'll be using setting spray afterwards, and that will settle any kind of powdery texture that I might have. I'm gonna keep the lips really easy and nude. This is the Lifter Gloss from Maybelline in Topaz. Love this doe foot. It has hyaluronic acid in it, so it's really hydrating and juicy. Everything I love in a good gloss. And the last step, setting spray. All right, here's the finished look. I just changed my top, put on some hoops. I love this makeup. It's simple, but I feel really beautiful, and I'm so excited for date night. I also love that this was achieved from start to finish with drugstore products. Two products that I was pleasantly surprised by are this e.l.f. Cream Contour Palette. I guess I shouldn't really be surprised because e.l.f. has really been delivering as far as products for the last couple of years at a really great price. But this palette is great. I'm excited to use it more. And the Revlon concealer. I think I'm going to be using this in my everyday routine. I love the coverage and I love that it doesn't crease. It's also really hydrating and it looks really natural. Are there any drugstore products that I need to know about or that you love? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me while I was getting ready. Please like and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video.